Where are you going at? Wait, there's a little collectible shiny thing.
Yeah.
Pick it up. Whoa. Discard an umbrella? Look how cute.
This is good. This is a good game.
If you've been lucky enough to get your hands on an Xbox Series X or a PS5 right now, you must feel pretty cool. Playing the same games as everyone else on a, Jesus, $1,000 console? It feels like showing up and wearing a tuxedo to an 8-year-old's birthday party. But PlayStation fans have had a bit more luck with a few titles exclusive to the platform. But those good days seem to be getting further away, as every game under the Sony brand is getting delayed over and over and over.
Now, if you're on Xbox, face probably looking something like this. Despite going on a shopping spree and purchasing 70% of the game development industry, they unfortunately forgot to tell any of those developers to make a single game for their new console. And the big sexy holiday exclusive they were counting on was bullied back into the oven for another year. But it's not exactly news that Microsoft doesn't seem to see exclusive titles as a priority. They're in the volume business, they have Game Pass subscriptions to sell, and they need to feed the beast. Which is why it knocked us on our ass when Microsoft showed off Death's Door at this year's E3. We were immediately taken with the charm and tone of the cinematic trailer. But I've been fooled before, and was waiting for the other shoe to drop when they showed off the gameplay footage. What was it going to be? A roguelike? A roguelite? A visual novel? A RTS or some goddamn thing?
Oh shit, no! This is a game-ass game! Death's Door is full-on gaming gumbo that is seasoned to perfection.
Developed by Acid Nerve, who released the notoriously difficult Titan Souls in 2015, Death's Door is an action-adventure game with fantastic puzzles, tightly tuned boss fights, and a rich story. It's one part Zelda,
Maybe 2 parts Zelda.
one part Dark Souls, a dash of Metroidvania, and a scoop of isometric horde enemy encounters akin to Hades. It's a little country, it's a little rock and roll, but most importantly, it's all bird, baby.
Fuck you.
In Death's Door, you play as a nameless crow who works as a reaper for the Lord of Doors by collecting the souls of creatures when it's their time to go, as well as anyone else who looks at you sideways.
After a routine mission goes awry, you find yourself roped into a plot that would have you take down some of the biggest overdue souls in the land, or else your assigned soul cannot be submitted. This, it turns out, is a big problem, because while their missions are still active, crows are susceptible to age, and more importantly,
With the stage set, it's now up to you to explore the world and hunt down some of its most colorful characters, who are dead set on clinging to life by any means necessary.
the game has no map to speak of, which is a little off-putting at first, but the vertical layers that make up the world, as well as how the game handles secret paths and collectibles, work much better in a mapless interface. Honestly, I found it pretty refreshing to avoid constantly swapping between screens, and led to me carefully studying the world around me. The only time I found myself wishing for a map was when I would discover a secret that I couldn't reach yet. It certainly would have been nice to mark down points of interest to check out later when you had the appropriate spells.
And speaking of spells, count them. There are 1, 2, 3, 4. You have an arrow, a fire spell, a bomb spell, and a hook shot. And yes, they literally just call it a hook shot. In addition to gating progress and being used to solve puzzles, they can also be used in combat. They can be upgraded to produce added effects, like how we found the upgraded fire spell to be absolutely invaluable and incredibly missable. So you'll need to dig around off the beaten path if you want to get everything. Outside of the 4 key spells, you'll spend most of your time in combat using the standard cool as shit glowing sword you get at the start of the game. But you can pick some alternate weapons as you progress through the game, including an umbrella. Now, it's not very good. Gosh dang is it cute. Plus, it's standard arsenal for every princess. Oh, and you can also get Thor's fucking hammer. Each of them have their pros and cons stat-wise, but most of the time we just found ourselves sticking with the old reliable.
The combat is super fluid and consistent. Each of the enemies and bosses offering clear tells and attack patterns that feel fair and balanced. If I died, it was on me. I had it coming, and I knew how to improve for next time. If that sounds like the game is easy, well, you can go fuck yourself, because this game will sink its teeth into you if it smells blood in the water. Yes, each attack is telegraphed reasonably well, which is why the game constantly experiments with different combinations of enemy types to keep you on your toes. Believe me, you'll feel like a horse's ass when one of these little beetles you paid no attention to earlier delivers the final blow on an enemy swarm.
While the combat is certainly meaty enough to get you through the game, the pacing of Death's Door is rounded out with extended dungeon sections and puzzle solving. You know, solve some puzzles, kill some guys, get some keys, find a magic thingy to do more puzzles, that song and dance. But there were so many times we felt we had a lock on how this game was going to go, and after a certain point, the amount of variety in gameplay style kept surprising. One dungeon has you sneaking through the belly of a mechanical laboratory, while another will have you acting as a one-man siege against a defending army. Each dungeon is infused with the charm and character of its boss. They never feel like a random monster or a tacked-on encounter. It feels like the boss characters were designed first, and the dungeon and surrounding area crafted to suit them. NPCs will constantly reference them, and the bosses themselves will even make brief, non-combat appearances as you progress through the dungeon.
Oh, yeah.
Oof.
There we go.
That scared the shit out of me. I'm not gonna lie to you. I love how organic everything feels. For instance, in the Flooded Kingdom, you're introduced to these pink switches that at first glance seem incredibly arbitrary. Why am I hitting these switches to make an immediate bridge to the next platform? But then, the switches start being used as a clever checkpoint mechanic, allowing you to return to where you died much more quickly. Then, in the climactic battle with the Frog King, you might notice a familiar color and pattern on his scepter. Once the floor panels start disappearing, you can hit his scepter to reactivate them. It adds so much to the game's sense of cohesion. I mean, we could go on and on about the game, from the tight controls to the absolutely beautiful music, which can turn from quiet and contemplative piano beds to these soaring string and choral sections that add so much to the scale of the game. Seriously, I am 8-bit or Fangamer or whatever the fuck, get on a vinyl release of this soundtrack ASAP. I'll buy 10.
Me too. True to its name, Death's Door is a game about death, fighting it, accepting it, and ultimately succumbing to it. It's a potentially dark concept for a game, but Death's Door approaches it with this reverence, beauty, and relatability, even going so far as to give it an extended eulogy for each boss in the game. It's an effective touch, and more often than not, I found some part of myself empathizing with them. It's a theme that runs throughout the game, and something that will keep in my thoughts long after I finished it.
So, is Death's Door the first great Xbox exclusive of this generation? That honestly depends on what you look for in games, and what you think of their current offerings. But for our money, Death's Door is a best-in-class Xbox title, a Game of the Year contender, and an instant classic.